Hello, and welcome to the story of a man who saved an automotive industry, Lee Iacocca, saving an industry. In our attempt to find an interview, we reached out to 23 separate contacts. Finally, one response, Norma Sakin, Iacocca's personal assistant, graciously responded to us, and this is what she said. Dear Gianluca and Hayden, your email request for an interview with Mr. Iacocca was forwarded here for a response. While Mr. Iacocca is honored you would like his participation in the National History Day research competition, it is with regret I let you know that Mr. Iacocca no longer participates in live interviews. However, I would like to personally compliment the two of you on your excellent choice and desire to contact Mr. Iacocca. He certainly has played an iconic role in American history, starting as the father of the Mustang at Ford Motor Company and following the baby boomer generation with the minivan at Chrysler. His other major accomplishments include the formation of his foundation, which to this day supports researchers to find a cure for type 1 diabetes. Additionally, Mr. Iacocca was responsible for the renovation of the Statue of Liberty at Ellis Island, and believe it or not, he is the man who coined the phrase global marketing through his programs at Lehigh University. All of the above make him a wonderful choice for your project, and he is very honored to have been considered for such an important student project. We are very grateful to have gotten this response and for the opportunity to give honor to a man who not only took a stand for the American automotive industry, but has obviously contributed a great deal to this country. Here is the story of how this great man left his mark on the country and took a stand in history. In 1946, Lee began working for Ford and was determined to make his mark. He worked his way up the ranks and was soon given an opportunity. Iacocca proposed a stylish pony car to bounce the company back from the failed project by Henry Ford II called the Edsel. He wanted to appear to the baby boomer generation and took several unconventional steps to further brainstorming the Mustang. He worked with a team and he assembled and concluded that the Mustang would seat four and would feature a long hood with a short rear deck area. They wanted to include a powerful engine with combined top speed. Iacocca proposed the car to Henry Ford, but he was still concerned about another flop. When he was finally convinced, Henry had three conditions. There would be a $45 million budget, it needed another inch in the backseat legroom, and it needed to sell. Lee was also told that he was fired if Mustang didn't sell. With his job on the line, Lee made the Mustang using Falcon parts to cut down on prices. He devised a plan to introduce the Mustang with maximum media and with no other car manufacturers present. Iacocca and Henry Ford II introduced the Mustang at New York's World Fair on April 17, 1964. Ford sold over 22,000 Mustangs on the first day. Ford launched a successful ad campaign that told the consumer, "The car to be designed by you," that was launched in 2,600 newspapers across the United States. 418,000 Mustangs were sold in the first year, and this led to 18,000 jobs being added. The Mustang's success continued in December 1970. Henry Ford II named Iacocca president of Ford. Ford soon saw Iacocca as a threat to the family business and authorized $1.5 million in company funds for an investigation of Lee's business and private life in 1975 that was unsuccessful. When shaming Lee out of a business didn't work, he began to look for any excuse to remove Iacocca. Lee went to the board for support, and that's what Ford used to fire Lee. On July 13, 1978, Henry Ford fires Lee Iacocca because sometimes you don't like somebody. Lee was just 54 and not yet ready to retire. Chrysler asked Lee to come aboard, and after just 5 months he becomes president, soon to be CEO of Chrysler. He immediately started cutting losses by selling real estate, but was also forced to lay off thousands of workers in 1979 to 1980. He cut all wages across the board, and in a 19-month span the average worker gave up to $10,000 because of a 10% salary cut in all but the lowest levels. Lee attempted to merge with Volkswagen in a deal that he thought would be profitable to both sides, but was denied because of Chrysler's poor financial condition. He went to the government for a 2-year freeze or a government loan in 1979.
We either get $1 billion, or in about 12 months you got $2.7 billion to take care of these people. In what? Not seed of training. You won't train them fast enough. It's in welfare payments.
The House voted 271 to 136 to help Chrysler, and the Senate voted 53 to 44 to help Chrysler. The government gave Chrysler $1.5 billion in guaranteed loans and took all of Chrysler's assets in collateral. The government also required Iacocca to get $2 billion in unguaranteed loans. Most states that had Chrysler plants provided direct loans to avoid the increase in unemployment. To help create a deal with the banks and get more money in time, Lee hired Steve Miller to make a plan. Steve and Iacocca created a compromise plan with the banks, which was $660 million in interest deferrals and reductions, $4 billion in loans at a 5.5% interest rate, and a 4-year extension that all banks accepted. When all loans were approved in 1979, Chrysler was $4.5 billion in debt. The K car was already in development when Iacocca became a part of Chrysler, and he saw its potential. The K cars were the Plymouth Reliant, Dodge Aries, and Chrysler LeBaron. The K cars were made to sell. They were fuel-efficient front-wheel drive cars that were made under 116 inches so that more could fit on trains to cut costs. Iacocca knew that the K car would make or break Chrysler, and they made sure that every detail was accounted for. The K cars would seat 6 with reasonable storage in the trunk, and they weren't fully modern but were more suited for the American roads than imports. Most customers believed that they were an upgrade, and from 1981 to 1988 they sold over 300,000 despite lingering doubts over Chrysler. Despite this success, Chrysler had to draw another $400 million in guaranteed loans in 1981. Iacocca saw that there was no family cars that drove well with good fuel economy, and so the K car platform was stretched, compressed, and reconfigured into the minivan. The minivan and K car were a large source of income for Chrysler, which enabled them to pay back their loan 7 years early. Iacocca signed print advertisements and appeared in multiple ads that made him famous.
Well, it's here. Time for me to step down and retire as chairman of Chrysler. And hey, anybody that goes out wants to go out with a bang. And we've got a bang that'll be heard from Germany to Japan. It's a new car design that's as revolutionary as our minivan was. It's going to change the way cars are designed from now on. We call it cab forward. What we did was move the windshield forward. Then we pulled the rear wheels back, made the rear doors wider and easier to get through, and increased the width. Believe me, this does more than just improve the looks. It gives you a lot more room inside, it rides better, and it's easier to handle. I think cab forward, like our minivan, is going to get copied by everybody. It has to, just because it makes so much sense. You know, I got to tell you, when it's your last turn at bat, it sure is nice to hit a home run.
He saved 600,000 jobs by saving Chrysler, and he retired at age 62 in 1992, but remained a consultant until 1994. Although his accomplishment continued even after he retired, we learned how through Norma Sakin's email, the goal of this documentary is to show how Lee Iacocca took a stand, saved an automotive industry, and changed Chrysler into the company that we know it today. In conclusion, using Iacocca's own words, apply yourself, get all the education you can, but then, by God, do something. Don't just stand there. Make it happen.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars, and let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, I love.
Who did you expect?